Hello YouTube! It is me, Hunter Surge, here with Thursday Cardfight Vanguard Reveals. So today's the other big stride support. Today's Mugen Lord. And yeah, there's not much else to talk about here. We don't have any other. It's just Mugen Lord. It's just the Shiranui stuff. But Shiranui like still continues to get rogue tops. So like if these cards are like any good at all, like it'll probably matter quite a bit. That bit of hairs, yeah, that's real long. Okay. Um, let's get into it. All right, so let's quickly run through the cards of the day that we've missed first. So first is a story check, grade 1 common. If you have a token card, a token unit in the same column, it gets intercept. And then if your opponent's grade 3 or greater, it gets power plus 5k. Nothing of particular note. It's an okay card. It's not complete common chaff. Like, it's not like the complete dog shit you usually expect. Now this! This card is some dog shit. Grade 2, Dark States common, front row rear at the start of your ride phase. Soul Charge 1. Awesome, man. I'm sure we'll get right on using this one. Yeah, sure. Alright, let's talk about the real shit. So first we've got Mugen Lord. Mugen Lord is so GB3, as all of these extra strides have been. Once per turn, you counterblast 1, soul blast 1, and discard 1 from hand. You choose the same number of rears as the amount of face-up cards with the same name as this unit in your G zone. And during this turn, it gets power plus 5,000. Choose an opponent's rear and stand it. When your opponent's other unit attacks during this battle, the drive of the dominated unit becomes 1, and it can drive check. Retire that unit at the end of the battle. So this card is interesting because like it's not actually a board wipe. So we actually have to like evaluate this outside of like, okay, yeah, it's a board wipe that still enables an extra attack. So like it's pretty solid. It's okay. It has like that niche. This is something that's actually much more useful for the turn that it comes down. Because what this is actually effectively doing is it's basically just a slightly weaker Makuro, but you don't have to Persona Stride. Like, it's not Persona Stride. You can discard any grade 3 for it. Which means in any of those scenarios where you really wanted to go into Makuro, but you couldn't because because your opponent because your opponent flipped because yeah, not because your opponent did anything, because you couldn't find the persona copy, you can still go into this. Also giving drive to a rear is actually just slightly better than getting drives from swing with your opponent's vanguard. Like, only getting 1 drive is worse than getting 2 drives. However, a problem that Makuro always had is that, like, your opponent, if they really want to protect the rear you were swinging into with Makuro, they could really safely guard that because they could just like they didn't need to respect the drive checks. They could just want to pass it because if you gave the power to the dominated Vanguard swing, it would stay on the Vanguard for your later attacks, which you really did not want to do. But this rear is not your opponent's Vanguard, so you can safely give drive check power to it. If you really want to punch through, especially since it's a swing on a Vanguard. Um, and it's going to retire at the end of the battle anyway. So even if it's something that you want to clear, it's going to clear itself off anyways. So that's not really a concern. Being able to get power plus 5k on the dominated card is just super, super nice. I have to check one thing real quick. Okay, so this is Axe, so you're not able to get the extra power on the dominate swing you're getting from your on stride. However, you're still just going to get, like, it still means that one of your dominate swings is more real because it will hit it will reach the point where your opponent has to use a trigger on it. Because it'll be like if we assume like a grade 2, it'll be um it'll be what? It'll be 14, gets 5,000 from the from the crest, if I recall correctly. Yeah, the crest. Yeah, the crest gives dominated units power plus 5k. So it'll have, if it's the same thing that you brought back with a burrow, if it's the same thing that you dominate with a burrow, then it will have plus 14k on it total, so it'll be 24. That also means it can hit 34 or 37, but it's the same math ultimately. With the counterblast one, you can give it with the grade 2 in the ride line. Forget its name off the top of my head. So yeah, that's like some appreciated like extra power on your second dominate swing as well. In addition to the fact that you could just safely apply the drive check to it. It only bases the power spread on the number of face-up Mugen Lords. So obviously on your first ride, you're always going to be flipping up a Mugen Lord, so that you can get at least the first power bump. And you can give that to one of your restanders. You can give that to the dominate swing. Lots of options there. It caps at plus 15k power spread. Which, like, depending on the scenario, plus 15k power spread is probably better in certain scenarios than going for the Mukuro. So, like, in super, super long game scenarios, that can be worth considering. But this is mainly something that is going to be used as an option for you to go into when you just don't have the Persona Stride. Because it is significantly more expensive. It's Counter Blast 1, Soul Blast 1, and you have to discard a card. You still have to Soul Blast, so you're not saving on the soul by going into this. And you have all these additional costs. And we have a new thing to sync Counter Blast into as well. So, like, you don't really want to be doing that if you can help it. So, like, Mukuro is definitely still preferred. This doesn't flip up any cards in your G zone. So you don't benefit in that way. So yeah, this really feels like largely Mukuro that you go into when you don't have Persona Stride. But that's still really nice. That's still really good to have access to. Like, it is, like, a pseudo Mukuro is still really strong. So that's good. That's really good. And then the grade 2, we have Stealth Beast Tamahagane Metsu. So this is an early game card, which is a really big deal for stride decks. So this is when placed on rear and you have the crest. You look at the top card of your deck and you put into soul or bind it face down. In addition, if your Vanguard's grade is 3 or higher, this gets power plus 5k for the turn, which is super nice. Super, super nice. And then when it attacks the Vanguard and you have an Oboro crest, you can counterblast one to draw a card, which is completely live early. So you just have counterblast one draw a card in the early game, which is super nice. And then during this turn, when the unit you dominate by you attacks, no, I believe it's if a dominated unit attacked this turn. It's still like triggering when this attacks. You get to pick a face down card in your bind zone, add to your hand, and during this battle, this gets power plus 5k. So it completes the plus 10k that Metsu got if you placed it that turn. But very importantly, this is like an innate soul charge in Shiranui, but it's way better than a soul charge because you look at the card and you go, okay, if there's something I don't really care about going to soul, we just shove it into soul and we can use it from there. If it's something, if it's like a trigger or a PG or something really high value we want in our hand, we can just bind it face down and then use a Metsu later to get it to our hand. Which is just some very nice versatility. Very, very strong. Super good card. This is just a really high quality card. Like, stride decks in general, getting cards that work early and like do things in the early game is super nice. Getting power gain on turn 2 is generally pretty high value because that means that you're able to pretty easily set up columns that cannot be damage trigger denied, which is always super valuable when you're trying to go for a grade 2 turn push. but it's also just like pretty solid card advantage. Outside of that, get some good power. Like it's not as good as one of the restanders, but it doesn't eat into your soul, which is super nice. It gives you soul, and it can like it's like the type of soul charger that's like, okay, if it's something I don't care about going to soul, it goes to soul. If it is something that I want in hand, I'm able to get it to my hand. I just have to pay a cost for it later. Both of which are just super good modes. Very solid card. Very solid card. Shiranui definitely got the way better side of this support than the Ward got. And Shiranui was the deck that needed that help to begin with. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good for Shiranui. And then next week is Deep Lands time. So we are getting 9 Deep Lands cards. So that will be, so we're getting the Ride Line, of course, which is 3 cards. Then we have the 2 regular Ignis forms, which is 5. Then there are 2 rears that we know about from the manga, that we don't have yet, plus the order. So that brings us to 8 cards, which means there is 1 more card beyond like the stuff we know about from the manga. We don't actually know the Ride Line really from the manga. But we've got the Ride Line. We don't really know like much of anything about what those do. Like we know one of the cards mills too, but that's about all we know about that. So we have the Ride Line. We have like no knowledge on. There's a potential Bunny-esque card in the Deep Lands cards. There was a grade 1 that was on place, look top 3, and send 1 to drop. And we don't know what the conditions on that place is. Like that could just be every time it's placed, which would be extremely powerful because Deep Lands has, in the manga, has a normal order that can be played from drop that retires a Deep Lands. I think it retires anywhere on your field to revive 2 Deep Lands, plays itself from drop, and gives you, the player, the effect that any card placed from drop this turn gets power plus 5k. That order is extremely powerful. We don't know like any costs that might be on it. I'm hoping it's not too like any resource costs like Counter Blast, Energy Blast. Hoping it's not too highly costed. I'm very excited for this deck. I was resigned for next Thursday to be Vanguard reveal, but no, we're getting the regular Ignis reveal. So I'm very, very excited about that. I'm very excited for this deck. Super, super hyped. But in addition to that, they're also going to be showing off a reprint next week. So this will probably be something that's somewhat relevant to regular Ignis. It could be Alvina. Like, you wouldn't be using Alvina for the order mode because, again, the order of this deck plays itself from drop. But reviving grade 1s would still be pretty solid. That would still definitely be solid, especially if that grade 1 is actually a bunny and works when placed from anywhere. That would be really strong. I would really like an Alvina reprint. Like, Alvina reprint is definitely what I want the most. However, what I actually expect we'll get is... I'm actually expecting it'll be a Rotting Usurp Dragon reprint. Because Raryu used that card in regular Ignis in the manga. So, like, it would be very unsurprising if they go, we're just going to reprint Rotting Usurp here. It was just a common, like, it's no big deal to just, like, give you access to it in the set. That's not going to hurt any shops. But I really want it to be an Alvina reprint. I really want it to be an Alvina reprint, but I don't think it's going to be. I really don't think it's going to be an Alvina reprint. But Sorcha is supposed to get 4 triple rares. Like, it does look like Sorcha is getting 4 triple rares this set. So, maybe. There is a slot for an Alvina reprint to happen at its original rarity. I really hope it's Alvina, but I think it's most likely going to be Rotting Usurp. But we'll see next Thursday. We will see next Thursday. With that said, this is going to be Hunter Surge, signing off.